And I'm talking a special guest. This is episode number 24. Joining us tonight, here you see him. He is one of the old school pros from back in the WWF days in the 1980s, and he's still active today, folks. His name is John Callahan. He's also known as Sergeant Muldoon, three-time Hall of Famer. He's been in the Hall of Fame induction. He's a Hall of Famer in the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2011. In 2017, he was inducted into the IWF Hall of Fame, the International Wrestling Federation, Killer Kowalski's organization. And recently, he was just inducted into Showcase Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame 2026. That's right. We have him here with us tonight. He is a multi-champion along the circuit. He held the New England Tag Team Championship with the late Big City Mike. He was also the New England Heavyweight Champion. In 1979, he came out of Killer Kowalski's School of Pro Wrestling with some other stars like Dan Petty and the late Kevin Butcher Hughes. Let's welcome to the show John Callahan. Welcome, brother.
Thanks, Joel. It's good to be here tonight.
I really appreciate it, bro. It's great to have you here, and you know, we go back so many years, John, and you know, I'm glad we negotiated to have you on the show because you know, having you on Wrestling with Comedy just adds just so much more to the show, you know, because let's face it, you've been around the block a few times and you came back around the block again actively right now in 2026, all these years, brother. Let me go over some of the names that John Callahan has been in the ring with. Folks, I can see the numbers coming in. Any questions or comments? I'm sure John will answer the questions or comments. Go ahead. We got Steak Daddy saying, hello, John Callahan. Love you, brother. I don't know if you know Steak Daddy, Peter B, saying hello already to you here today. John Callahan's been in the ring with Dominic DeNucci, Ivan Putski, Tito Santana, the late Hulk Hogan, Tony Mr. USA Atlas, Tiger Chung Lee, Sergeant Slaughter, the late Junkyard Dog, Sylvester Ritter, the Magnificent Morocco, the late great Roddy Piper, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, the late great Paul Orndorff, Pedro Morales, who recently passed away unfortunately, Dr. D. David Schultz, Mr. Fuji, the list goes on and on. Here he is, John Callahan on Wrestling with Comedy. John, I'd like to start right up. Let's talk about 1979 at Killer Kowalski's. How was that, brother?
Oh, that was tough. You know, I met Walter. It was 1 year after I graduated high school. I went up to Salem, Mass. That's where it was at that time, at the YMCA. It was a 20 by 20 ring and a 30 by 30 room with no ventilation.
Wow.
So in the summertime, it was hot. It was like a sauna. And in the winter, you froze because it's an old YMCA all run down. And they didn't have good heating systems. But we had a boxing ring with spring in the middle. So you can imagine taking your concrete. That's how we learned.
Wow, bro.
And if we didn't do it right, Walter would make us do it again.
That's exactly the way Walter trained. He had you repeat until you got the bump or got the spot or the maneuver correctly. And like John just said, folks, back in 79, you're training in with no air conditioning, no ventilation, no kind of air or heat in that building. And when you bump on a cold mat like that, you're going to feel it just that much more. You're talking about paying your dues before you even make a debut. Let me ask you, John, about this, brother. Is this true? Or is this a rumor? Your debut was against someone named Huggy Bear, and he blew up, and you had to hit the ref for DQ?
Yes and no. Yes, it was against Huggy Bear. The referee in that one, I did get DQ'd. But the DQ for the ref was actually against Jeff Cost, the Lobster Man. In his first match, it was all at the old Frolics, which was right on the water. And the finish got messed up. Sent the referee and told him to disqualify me. It took 3 punches in the head before the referee got it to the bell, disqualify me. Walter could see it from the dress, screaming at the guys. Like, how many times does he have to hit you before you ring the bell and just disqualify him?
Wow. That's incredible. And, folks, if you're a pro wrestling fan now, or if you're a modern fan, or if you go way back in the day, in the good old days when pro wrestling was the king of sports, it still is, but back in the day, you couldn't beat it because it was just, it was a real heel and a real baby face. And like John just said, back in those days, if you're too young to know, I'm going to smarten you up right now. When a referee gets hit one time, that bell should be ringing a DQ. And that ref was missing his spot there. And like John said, Kowalski wasn't happy about it. John, did you make your debut? I know you made your debut with the WWF. Now, let me see if I got my notes here straight. This is a great match to start off with. Did you lock horns with Dominic DeNucci?
Yes. In Manchester Center, Vermont. I wrestled Dominic DeNucci. I was terrible. Oh, my God, was I horrible. We went about minutes, and those people should have demanded their money back. It was a terrible match. Thank God it got better. It went far too long. Before I went out to the ring, Angelo Savoldi said to me, listen to Dominic. Do whatever he says. Dominic didn't say anything for 8 minutes. So what were you going to do? I'm a new kid. I don't know what I can do, what I can't do. So Walter got word about it.
John, you froze there, brother. See if you can unfreeze yourself there. Just bear with us, folks. John Callahan's screen, unfortunately, froze. It's the first time we had that happen, but we're gonna get him back there in a minute. Just hang in there. We got Big John Callahan. He's also been known as Big John Callahan and Sergeant Muldoon. He's worked in the WWF against some of the greats we mentioned earlier. If you're just joining us, John Callahan is here. He'll be back momentarily. He's been in the ring with Polish Power, Ivan Putski, and Tito Santana. He tagged up with Johnny Rodz. That's my next question about that tag team match. Ivan Putski and Tito Santana were tag team champions back in the WWF. John Callahan teamed with the unpredictable Johnny Rodz to meet them in a tag team match. John, if you can hear me, we still got your screen here. If you can come on back with us, we got quite a few people listening. It looks like John's coming back. John Callahan, welcome back. John, you got your audio, brother? Your audio? Check your audio, brother. I got your video. You're back on video. Check your audio, bro. You're good with your video's fine. Folks, this is John Callahan here with us tonight, former WWF Pro Wrestling star, 3-time Hall of Famer, multi-champion throughout the New England circuit. He's a trainer right now in Showcase Pro Wrestling in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And we're just working on his audio. Stay with us, folks. We got John back. John's yelling at the tech guy over there, or the tech woman. John, I can see you, and we got quite a few people waiting on you. It's okay to yelling you against Dominic DeNucci in the WWF. We're also going to talk about that big tag team match he had teaming up with Johnny Rodz, unpredictable Johnny Rodz versus Tito Santana and Ivan Putski, who were the WWF tag team champions. And I'm sure that was a Donnybrook itself. We're just looking at the audio. We lost the video, but we do have John Callahan back with us. We do apologize. This is live, Wrestling with Comedy, but we'll be right back with you in a moment. Don't go anywhere. We got a bunch of questions for John and comments, and he's really been around the block, so to speak, in the king of sports, professional wrestling. John Callahan, like we said earlier, has been in the ring with the likes of Mr. USA Tony Atlas, the late Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, the late Junkyard Dog, the late Roddy Piper, Magnificent Morocco, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Pedro Morales, Mr. Fuji, Dr. D. David Schultz, Sweet Hansen. The list goes on and on. John Callahan is here with us tonight, and we can see you, John, but we can't hear you. I don't know. If you want to sign out and sign back in real quick, John, maybe that'll do it. We're going to try to sign in. That might do it. It might have been a glitch. Sign in, sign out. John Callahan, and the numbers are going up. Folks, don't go nowhere. John is here. We just had a technical problem. But we're getting into it here, folks, and what a podcast this is so far. John Callahan's talked about starting up way back in 1979 at Killer Kowalski School of Pro Wrestling, back when there was no heat and there was no air conditioning, and that mat was cold or hot, however you want to look at it, taking the bumps. And Walter Killer Kowalski was one tough trainer. Think about that. And John Callahan paid his due and came up with greats like Dan Petty, who was a great tag team wrestler, and the late Butcher Hughes, Kevin Butcher Hughes, who teamed up with Bruiser Jeff Costa. That team was a great team. So John Callahan was teaming with some of the best. John Callahan also is still currently a Showcase Pro Wrestling trainer right now in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. John, welcome back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. John Callahan's back, folks. Audio and video, thank you. We love it. We love to have you back here. John, let's get right to it. You teamed with Johnny Rodz versus Ivan Putski and Tito Santana. Tell us about that tag match early in your career.
That was, my first TV. 6 months to the day after I was training, we were sent out to Allentown, Pennsylvania, to do WWF TV. Had no clue what I was going to be doing out there. I was just teamed up with Johnny Rodz. We had Santana for opponents. It took daylights out of me when that light came on and I realized I was on TV. And, then the thoughts start going through your head as you're in this. Oh, my God, millions of people watching this. Screw this up. It went okay. It went 3-4 minutes. Not too bad with Putski and Santana.
Yeah. Did Polish Power Ivan Putski put you away with the big Polish hammer for the fin? Was that the finish? Do you remember?
No.
Was Santana sunset flip?
Sunset flip over the top rope. Putski threw me in the ropes, hit me in the belly. I bent. When I went towards Tito, he jumped the top rope, sunset flip, and that was the pin.
Wow. John Callahan's here tonight, and let me tell you something. I was a fan of John Callahan growing up, and just a side note, John Callahan is the same man that you're seeing here tonight that took time with a young teenager, that was me, with my Uncle Charlie way back in the day, to talk to me about being a pro wrestler before it was only a dream for me. John Callahan was the pro wrestler to take the time, come out, switch the metal chair around, sit down with me for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and talk to me about it back at an IWF show out there in East Taunton, Massachusetts at the Martin Middle School. And I remember John way back from then, and we've worked the circle on and on, as far as the squared circle in pro wrestling. John Callahan and I go way back, and we are so happy to have him. He's a 3-time Hall of Famer, multi-champion. He's still a trainer. He's still involved in professional wrestling right to this day in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, Showcase Pro Wrestling. John, I got to ask you about this. This is a big moment in history in pro wrestling. And everyone listening and watching, get close to your screen or your phone, because this is going to be an exclusive. I don't believe John's ever been asked this, but John, you got to tell me about it, brother. You were the pro wrestler. He's already kind of half smiling there. You were the pro wrestler way back in 1984. You were in the ring on a television taping, waiting for Sergeant Slaughter to enter the ring when the Iron Sheik and Classy Freddie Blassie was exiting. And that was the start of the feud between Iron Sheik, the late Iron Sheik, and also Sergeant Slaughter, the boot camp, right? You were in the ring waiting for Slaughter. 2 questions, John. How was it to be a part of that angle? And 2, was Slaughter really pissed off, and did he stiff you a bit in the ring?
Well, at that time, it was just another match. It didn't feel like it was something special because we didn't know what it was going to. I was just told that this was going to happen. So it wasn't like you built yourself up. It wasn't like the Piper and Snooker thing where we kind of knew something big happening. But it was just getting the ring and you're going to work with Sergeant Slaughter. So, okay. Slaughter was stiff. Oh, my God, was he stiff. For about, I think it was a minute, a little bit more than that. And then once he put on the Cobra clutches, oh, thank God, the match is over. But I got a double payday that night, so I'm not complaining too much.
Brother, there's no complaints. This is John Callahan. He's also known as Sergeant Muldoon. He's been up and down the circuit for decades. We have the privilege to have him here tonight, Wrestle with Comedy Live. Listen in, because this is an historic episode of Wrestle with Comedy. John, let me ask you, you had a big match back at the old Boston Garden when you looked across the ring against the late, great Hulk Hogan. John, please take us through that back in '81. What kind of rush was that, brother?
Well, back then, of course, Hulk Hogan, this was his first run in WWF. Freddie Blassie was his manager. And I got a call, it was the Friday before the show. Whoever was supposed to wrestle Hogan wasn't going to be there, so they asked Walter to send somebody down. So I got the call. And it was an afternoon card. Garden was sold out. The main event was Bruno, I believe it was Hansen in the cage.
Wow.
And so, you know, we went on probably about seventh match of the night, something.
Wow, that's good, man.
What makes us stand out is when I was in high school, my guidance counselor asked me what I was, and I said, a pro wrestler. He said, pipe dream, it's never going to happen. And when I was standing in the middle of the ring in Boston Garden, I looked up at the rafters, and all I could see was head silhouetted by the lights. As, man, this is some pipe dream. You know, it didn't take too long, because Hogan he's massive. And back then, he's 6'7", he's 330 pounds, something like that. And even if you didn't want to go up for the slam, went up for the slam.
Yeah, man.
There's no getting out of it.
There's no getting out of it.
And, yeah, I think it was about 6 slams and a double leg drop. And I said, oh, thank God.
Oh, John Callahan, that is a great story. And John just told his viewers and listeners, the main event that night back in 1981, the 7th match was John Callahan versus the incredible Hulk Hogan. He also was the new Hulk Hogan. He was a heel back then, managed by the late, great, classy Freddie Blassie. John Callahan gets into a sold-out Boston Garden early in his career in 1981 and gets in the ring to face Hulk Hogan, with the main event being the WWF champion Bruno Sammartino versus Stan the Lariat Hansen in a cage. Let me tell you something. That's, if you only had one match in your whole career, that would be the match that you'd have, and you could talk about it for the rest of your life. That is awesome. John, let me take you back. I'm going to take you back to the year was 1993, and I have it right here. And you probably remember it was a big match. You were in the main event. You were working with Ray Roy, and Ray Roy was the Mountie, and I still remember. I have a poster here, and I'm just showing the viewing audience right now. This is 31 years ago. 31 years ago, people. Take a look at this. On top of the lineup, Sergeant Muldoon. That is John Callahan versus Jacques the Mountie, who was Ray Roy. And, you know, I ended up being on that card. What a lineup. The old Roseland Ballroom in Taunton, Massachusetts. Gary McCarthy, Fitzpatrick, right? Late Kevin McCone, rest in peace, Mo Payne. Yep, and remember, and Big City Mike was on that card. I remember, John, I wanted to say, I remember, John, meeting you and Big City Mike, rest in peace, Rick Martellio. We met at the old Dunkin' Donuts out that way with tickets, and I remember you saying, John, you're like, you got to see this guy, Ray Roy. He looks just like Jacques Rougeau, the Mountie. Remember that, John?
Yeah, Ray had an incredible resemblance, which put the gimmick over. Helped him a lot with that, the whole Mountie thing. And sometimes you try somebody else's stuff, and it doesn't quite work. But Ray would, he watched all the matches that Jacques had, got the movements down. He did fantastic with it.
He sure did. And if you remember that night, brother, I remember that night, because that was, you know, I was just breaking, and I broke it in 91, and I really appreciate, I want to say on air right now, publicly, I really appreciate, John, all the opportunities you gave me in the sport, because you did. And I really mean that, and thank you, John.
Well, I tried to find guys that I knew had some ability. I knew everybody was new. Didn't expect it to be, you know, main event matches. But the only way we're going to get better is to have more. And I'm glad I could help along quite back then.
Yes, and you did. And you didn't only help my career along. And And thanks, John. Some ability. Thanks a lot. That don't sound too good. Some ability, this guy. John, we got a lot of memories, brother, you know, and I love you like a brother, you know, and I have a lot of respect for you. Let's talk about some of the greats that we worked with back in the day. And let's not forget, we're going to bring up this name. He's not brought up too much, and he should be. Whiskey Jack Savage, WWF official referee, great guy. He was a good friend of both of ours. I remember traveling with Whiskey Jack Savage and Big City Mike. I remember actually driving with those two. And if you got to remember, Big City Mike was about 6'9", almost 500 pounds. Jack was a smaller guy, but a shady-looking character, but really a good guy. Leo Johnson, his sister Sandra Starr, and I was in the back of the van. We got pulled over by the police. I wonder why. But let's talk about Whiskey Jack Savage. Any memories of Whiskey Jack Savage, who also worked under the hood for ICW as a heel?
Oh, Jack was a guy. He refereed for us up at Salisbury Beach. When I went to Montreal back in mid-'84, I was working for DNO up there, and asked if there was a few other guys I could bring with me. So I grabbed Jack and Rudy Diamond, and we went up. Back then, you had to have work permits to work in Canada. I'm not sure what it is now. I'm sure it's got to be the same. But we didn't have work permits, so trying to lie our way across the border. And, you know, it didn't look too suspicious with myself and Rudy and Jack in the car.
Oh, that's a
Border
crew.
Patrol was over. And the guy who's interviewing me, he separated us all, took our IDs. And he points at Rudy and is responsible for him. I said, what did he do? Born in Costa Rica. I said, is that a crime? It's a crime. I never would have brought him to Canada. I guess it was just because he was born in Costa Rica, he wasn't an American. But he actually was. Rudy did get a citizenship. And they let us go. And on the way back, it was a long trip. We did TV up in Sherbrooke. Coming back through Vermont, falling asleep. But Jack laid across the back seat. He's the only smart one in the car. Rudy and I are up in the front. And Rudy, I'm going to drive off the road, man. We got to pull over and get some sleep. So Rudy says, this is about maybe 11 o'clock at night. We'll sleep for a half hour, and then I'll take a drive, and I'll drive to Boston. No problem. Then, you know, the sun is in my eyes. Tapping Rudy, hey, do you think a half hour's gone by yet? We slept for about 7 hours in the car. And I was so cramped up. Jack was nice and comfortable in the back seat, shady bastard.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace, Jack Savage, known as Whiskey Jack Savage. What a great brother he was. I miss him. I have some great memories with him. His sister, woman pro wrestler, Sandra Starr. You mentioned Dean Hull, who was tag team champions in the WWF with Tony Garea back in the day. And Rudy Diamond was a WWF star back in the day, worked a lot of television, and Diamond was always very fit and put together. He was also known to be able to clear a bar out if he had to. This is John Callahan here, known as Sergeant Muldoon, three-time Hall of Famer. Been in the ring with some of the greats. We mentioned the late, great Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, JYD, Roddy Piper. We can go on and on the list. He's still in the sport today after all these years. You know, John, we have a part of the program called Dealing the Names. I'm going to throw 5 names at you, brother, and I'd like you to give me either a statement or at one word about that name, okay?
Okay.
Okay, this is John Callahan here with us tonight, Wrestling with Comedy, former WWF Pro Wrestling star, and we're dealing the names. The number 1 name on the list is Big Ron Shaw.
Big Ron, great guy. We trained together. He came in, but after I started, we tagged up on Bedlam from Boston, and then we got to tag in WWF, and we were tagged down in Puerto Rico. Fantastic guy.
Yeah, yes, I get all that. I've got to know Ron over the last 3 years or so, and what a pro, you know, and he had, you know, Ron had mentioned, and I'd like to ask you, you know, to take a time out on the deal and the names. John, can you tell us the insight, because I'm very interested in it. I saw this match on television. Ron had mentioned that a near riot almost broke out in Puerto Rico when you teamed with Shaw versus the Rock and Roll RPMs. What happened, brother?
We just kept beating up the RPMs, and we were getting close to the time limit, and the 10-minute time limit for TV. And so when the match came to an end, I'm laying in the middle of the ring, and Ron came in and said, I said, what do you mean don't sell it? We're on TV. He's looking around the ring. People weren't going to let us out of the ring. The RPMs had already left. So we were just sitting ducks out there. So we're looking around, saw cops on the side of the ring, and go for the cops. And we just dove ropes, got to the cops, and about 6 cops got us back to the dressing room.
Wow.
It was nuts.
Wow.
And down there, here, I wouldn't mind if somebody takes a shot at me, I'd probably take a shot back. In Puerto Rico, you just don't do that. You could get killed.
You get killed. And let's be honest and let's be real about it. The fans down in Puerto Rico are real diehard fans, and they really love the baby faces, and they don't like the heels. And like John said, he was in a potentially very dangerous situation. Ron Shaw and John Callahan wanted to get back to the dressing room as soon as possible. Folks, we got about 9 more minutes on Wrestling with Comedy. We're live here with John Callahan, known as Sergeant Muldoon. Talk about a professional. He's a professional inside the ring, outside the ring. He's with Showcase Pro Wrestling now. He's training 1 night a week over there in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. He's also been a manager in Showcase Pro Wrestling, managing the team of the Convicts, the heel team, a great team. He's also done the lockdown segment, interviewing pro wrestlers ringside. The second name on Dealing the Names, John Callahan's here tonight, is Ray Roy.
Ray is a piece of work. If anybody was ever convinced of their abilities, it's Ray. I've known him since the 90s. I like the guy, but boy, what an ego.
Okay, very nice.
And much nicer that I can say than that.
hey, brother, this is what it is. This is Wrestle with Comedy. We keep it real with the guests, and I'm your host, the Real Deal Joel Davis, former MMA fighter, professional wrestler. I'm a podcaster now, stand-up comedian, and also a promoter. The number 3 name, brother, John Callahan, is going to hit us with this one, and we got to just say rest in peace. So many memories with this next name. I'm just going to tell you a real quick story. Came to one of my birthday parties. He's such a big man. He broke the sofa sitting down. Big City Mike, Rick Martellio, number 3.
Rick, he was the best man at my wedding. He's the biggest guy with the biggest heart. And he only best man when I asked him because he didn't believe I was actually going to go get married. We went to Niagara Falls. In fact, tomorrow, today would be the 33rd anniversary of going to Niagara Falls. Wow. Tomorrow is the actual wedding anniversary.
Wow, that's great. That's a great memory. I have so many great memories with Rick. His name was Rick Martellio. And his ring name was Big City Mike. True story. I was actually on the way to his wake, John, driving up to his wake, and I was so upset I didn't make it to the wake, and that's a shoot. Number 4 on the list is Mr. USA, Tony Atlas.
Tony's a good guy. Tony, when I first met Tony, of course, I was just breaking into the business. He was the Hamburg night. First night you did Allentown, second night you did Hamburg, and I wrestled Tony. And I know that with the job, you're not supposed to call anything in the ring. It's supposed to be the other calling it. And I was calling moves and doing what I did because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I found out real quick that's not what you're supposed to do. They didn't get mad at me. They just again. Lou Albano told me I'd probably have a future in this business. Just keep going. Just keep learning. Tony was a great guy. I knew him back then. And then when he came to Salisbury Beach, you might remember night, we were in a match. I was wrestling Tony, and I knocked him down with a foreign object, took my handcuffs, stuck him to the ropes, then took my billy club and started beating him. And I grabbed the ring phone. Now, at this point, I'm already disqualified, but I didn't care. And I grabbed the microphone and said, "Welcome to Champs Arena. We treat you like a king, rock king." And this was shortly after the Los Angeles riots when Rodney King got beat up by the Los Angeles cops. And Tony says, "Oh, that's good heat." Tony, I'm surprised I'm still alive. Oh my God.
That was the first thing I thought. That was like you had a death wish. John Callahan here tonight, and he's telling you the way it is, and talk about this. This talks about when you're a heel, you'll use anything, and what it is to get the heat, folks. Don't take this, genuinely. This isn't John's real thoughts. This is just about being a heel. Because keep in mind, most of us are just our personalities wound up about 100 when we're in the ring, but it's really some of the heels are the nicest guys in the world outside of the ring when they're not in the ring. Number 5 on the list, John, and we're going to move on quick. We got about 5 minutes. I still wanted to ask you a couple questions. Whiskey Jack Savage.
Oh, Whiskey Jack, fantastic guy. Fantastic guy. In fact, when he turned 60, his wife couldn't afford a party for him. So she asked me if I'd help her. Well, Jack and I have the same birthday, August 21st. So we invited him to my birthday party for my 50th, which it wasn't my 50th. It was just on that day. Jack came expecting to surprise me, and we actually had all the boys' house to surprise him. Much love we had for Jack Savage. In fact, the last night he went out anywhere, I took him to the Three Stooges Festival. Oh. And we just went out till 2 a.m, just laughing our asses off and having a great time. And unfortunately, that was the last time I saw him alive.
Yeah, I love Jack. I used to pick him up over there in Fall River, Massachusetts, over near the old Chinese restaurant. Yep. He would travel up with me to the shows, and he refereed a lot of matches that I was involved in. I love Jack. Jack Savage is somebody that if you look at the old WWF television tapings, you'll see him refereeing matches with like the late great Iron Sheik and all the big names Jack Savage was in the ring with. That's Whiskey Jack Savage. This is John Callahan, Sergeant Muldoon. He's in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. John, talk a little bit about the training down there in Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Well, Showcase Pro Wrestling, the training's broken up into 3 nights. First, Don and Chris Blackheart run the second night, itself and one of the I trained, Brett Gosselin. He came back as a trainer. We run the Tuesday nights. And on the third night, it's Kenny Doan from WWE. He's a producer with WWE. He comes in and he helps the kids learn what to know to make it to like Monday Night Raw or make it to SmackDown. Let's get down to the training center. We can bring in some guest trainers. Ryan Drew joined a few weeks ago. This past week, Anthony Green came in to help the kids. They're getting better and better all the time. We've probably got about 10 kids that could to make it somewhere in the business. It's just a matter of, is the business ready for them? That's
right. And when you say kids, you're saying young men, and these young men are moving their way up. You got Punisher Don Vega, Chris Blackheart, who run the shebang over there. They got Big John Callahan, class act. We're coming up on 2 minutes. You got a question here from Summer Blue is asking, do you have any funny stories about the Real Deal Joel Davis back in the day?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, when he first started, he was not very good. This is said, guys with abilities. He was not very good at cutting his promos. And he was at Salisbury Beach, and he told me, and you might remember this, you asked to cut the live promo in the room. I said, yes. And how to do it, seconds later, you were back. And I said, what's the matter? You said, I couldn't think of anything to talk about.
Hey, oh. I heard this story in another podcast.
I wouldn't have cared.
I know, brother, I'm going to have to say, I don't remember that. I think that's a made-up story, brother. I never remember that happening, man. I don't know, man. But we got finished this statement, John, before we say goodnight. John Callahan here's tonight. What a blessing to have him tonight. We haven't talked in months and months and maybe over a year since we've seen each other at a Hall of Fame induction, but it's like we talk every day. I love this man like a brother. He's such a pro. We go way back. He's also known as Sergeant Muldoon, 3-time Hall of Famer. John, finish this statement. When I leave pro wrestling and I retire for good, I'd like the fans to remember me for
being this guy they ever met. Somebody who helped the business and someone who helped the boys.
That's great. That's great. John Callahan was with us tonight. Wrestling with Comedy Live. He was known as Sergeant Muldoon. He's had what a hell of a career he's had. He's been in the rings with the best, including Hulk Hogan in the old Boston Garden, and he has the stories to tell you. John, thank you. All the best to you, brother. God bless you. Until next time, folks, keep it real at all costs. Good night, everybody.